What's up, girl bosses? It is Isabella Riley back at it again with the Corporate Tea Podcast. I am so excited and honored that you are here. I am so ecstatic for not only your professional but your personal growth. And I just love a girl boss. I love a bad bitch. And this really is a podcast for women, however, men you guys can listen to, but really just to uplift each other and to bring awareness to things that are going on in corporate America. Whether it's what stocks you should invest into, certain corporate politics that nobody wants to talk about how to actually navigate, I'm here to give insight on that. I'm here to give all the tips and tricks on recruiting, whether it's for an internship or a full-time job, or maybe even a promotion in the company. This is the best developmental podcast for you that's really going to break it down into the most honest terms and just really straightforward, because I hate when people like to dance around a certain topic or say something and they want you to dissect what they actually mean. I feel like that's most of corporate politics, and I'm just personally not a fan of that. So welcome to the Corporate Tea Podcast. I wanted to give a new shout out to this clothing company that I found last week. It's called Nuuly, N-U-U-L-Y. This is not sponsored, but Nuuly, if you're listening, please sponsor me because I absolutely love this site. So basically you go on, it's a monthly subscription. If you've ever done like an Ipsy makeup box, it's similar to that, but it's a little different. So you get 6 pieces of clothing and you get to choose if it's like a wedding guest dress. I'm personally using it to up my business wardrobe. You do return the 6 pieces, but I really love that because a lot of the clothing is really nice clothing that's going to cost you $100 plus to even purchase. It's like Anthropologie and American Eagle. This shirt that I got from Nuuly, it's from Levi's. I feel like I am elevating my wardrobe and kind of finding what works for me as a almost 25-year-old young professional in the workplace. You know, I want to look chic, I want to look great, but I also want to look professional, and it can be a little hard for me to navigate that, especially with all the Kim K's in the world and all the office sirens showing me what they're wearing to work on my TikTok page. I cannot be showing up to work wearing that. So I really like Nuuly. It's so much worth the subscription because if you find a piece you really love, you know that you're going to invest in it and like it. So I want to hop into this next thought starter called Hot Stocks for Hot Girls. Y'all, with everything going on in the economy, there is so much uncertainty, but you know what we want to make certain is your money and your investments. There's so much going on. We have tariffs changing every single day. So let's get a little bit into it. Right now, the hot stock for the hot girls is the Boeing stock. So I know everyone is going to hate me for this, and I am not a fan of airplane crashes either. But the company did just appoint a new CEO, Kelly Ortberg. And when a company appoints a new CEO, it usually means that the company has heard the shareholders and the customers loud and clear that there needs to be a change. It not only changed the new CEO, but it changed a lot of higher up management in the company. So they're looking for new leadership that's able to also listen to what shareholders and consumers are saying about the company in order to help it turn around. So with everything that's been going on in Boeing, it is at a really steep discount price. I wouldn't say this is going to be a quick turnaround for your money, but it is a 1 to 3 year investment, which I think is really perfect for the economy that we are currently in, wanting to take advantage of if we may or may not be going into a recession, the stock market is dropping. Let's make sure we are investing in those stocks that are at a steep discount right now so we can see our money back plus more. I also want to point out, if you're still not convinced, the Boeing company was awarded the F-47 Next Generation Fighter Aircraft contract. So that does show some hope in that the potential that they can make a significant comeback in the next 1 to 3 years. And if you're worried about tariffs, I'm going to tell you right now, Boeing is really perfect for this because Boeing is made in the USA, so it won't encounter any tariffs unlike a lot of its competition. So if you're looking to put $20 down and make some money back, this might be the hot stock for you. Today's episode is going to be a little quicker than usual. And I wanted today's episode to be about spotting culture in the company, whether it's in these interviews through the recruiters or on their website or on their social pages. How can you really get a grasp of what a company's culture actually is? I feel like everyone is out here saying that they have the best company culture and that they value culture so much. And then you have companies like that are taking away DEI programs, and you're supposed to expect that they are a company that's going to invest in you and have that good company culture when they're taking money out of that? It's just stuff like that. Like, how can you really and truly spot what a good company culture is past all the propaganda they are telling you? And I've thought about this a lot, and I think the best hack for this is looking at who the company admires. So I would even ask in interviews, like, who is it in your company that is a leader to you all, and why does the company admire them? And also, if you have the opportunity to do an internship at a company, I think it's so important to pay attention and to look around and see who people are investing in, who people admire. And I think this is really telling, because whoever is the biggest leader, the biggest admired in the company, that is the individual that is really going to set the culture. That person is the culture. I'm going to give a few examples. So one of my previous internships, you know how an internship is. It is very la 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 la, especially if it's for a Fortune 500 company. Like, you're doing all like the super fun work. Yes, you are learning stuff. Yes, you are developing. But let's be clear, it is la 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 and not a good representation of what your everyday 9-to-5 job would look like at that company. With that being said, in one of my previous internships, I was very naive. I didn't pay attention to the leaders in the company. I kind of just thought, oh, they got there because they worked hard, but didn't really pay attention to their personalities. And now, being older and looking back, I realized that the people that company admired sucked. So, for example, one of the men was absolutely sleazy and disgusting. And I was so confused. Why does everyone in this company admire this guy? He's so sleazy, he's so sexist, he's making so many disgusting comments to women, but everyone here seems to admire that. And I just thought maybe he worked hard. And you know what? Maybe he did, but I neglected that company culture was messed up. I really just stayed in my own bubble. But looking back, knowing who a company puts on a pedestal, that is going to set the tone for the culture of that company. So I would look into that. Every company is going to tell you that they're the best company and they have the best culture and they care so much about their employees, blah, 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 blah. Thank you. Next. Who is that company admiring? And I think this is so appropriate to even ask in interviews. Like, who is a company leader to you guys and why? And I would stalk their LinkedIn. Maybe look them up on Facebook. See what things they're resharing, see what things they're liking, see what things they're posting. And some people might think this is absolutely obscure and crazy, but you're probably not a woman in the workplace if you say that, because when you are working somewhere and if you are having that toxic masculinity in the workplace, it totally sucks as a woman. I think it sucks in general, but I can say as a woman, it especially sucks. So that's my little hint on how to really observe what the culture of that company is really going to be like. And even at your company now, who they really are at their core, who they are is what is going to make you excel in your role and to get a promotion, because you need to embody that. So if you cannot embody being a sleazy man, which man or woman, I hope nobody can embody that, that probably isn't the company for you. I think another way to really determine what the culture is in a company is to really listen and see how people are talking about others that are not in the room. I think this is a common thing. You know, everybody's going to chit chat, everybody's going to gossip a little. And I've always kind of just tried to tune out in those rooms because I don't want to be a part of the drama. But one thing I've started doing recently is kind of tuning in and kind of listening and understanding, how is this individual talking about the person they work with? And I think it's like anything else. If a manager's in a room with you and they're talking shit about the person working underneath them, that's not a good sign. And you want to be in a company that has a culture where even if you're not in a room, your name is still being talked about in a good light. I think that's something that's also really important quality to have in a manager, is because you're not going to be in all those rooms. There's a lot of rooms, especially starting out in your career, that you're not going to get invited to, a lot of tables that you do not have a seat at. but your manager does, and you want to make sure that your manager is sitting at those tables and not talking shit about you and giving you high praises, talking about how awesome it is to work with you, because that's what's going to help you excel at a company. So listen to how other managers are talking about who they're working with or who's working under them in those rooms, if you have a chance to be in those rooms. Just really listen in, because if you are part of a company where there's a lot of chit chat and gossip, I'm sure you're going to get talked about. And I don't think it's a bad thing to get talked about in a company. It's going to happen regardless. Even if you have the best culture, people love to yap. People love to chit chat. People love to gossip. But I think, there should be a balance, and you should have that confidence that your manager is in a room and they're not talking bad about you, because you're not in that room. You don't know. And a lot of times you could be doing a phenomenal job and your manager could look at you as a threat. So they're going to want to talk down about you in a room because, one, maybe you make them look so good so they don't want to lose you as an employee. Or two, they feel a little threatened by you and they don't want you to potentially climb the corporate ladder faster than them, because that does happen. And from my experience, people get so petty and passive aggressive about that, which is ridiculous. But that's politics for you guys. I kind of want to pivot a little bit and talk about what is the best person in the room doing. Like, the person in the room being admired, that is definitely going to show the company culture. But say they are absolutely phenomenal. I work at a company right now who the leaders in my company that are admired are wonderful. Like, they are so inspiring. They are some amazing boss women. And I feel so electrified just being around them. I want to be them when I grow up. And so I find myself sitting back and watching them and asking myself, what are they doing? Because that is something that they've done in their career to get them to where they are. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting. Maybe it's not using a bunch of exclamation points in their email. Maybe it's being very forward, very direct. Maybe it's dancing around a subject. Maybe it's always being early. Maybe it's taking a power move and being a few minutes late. I would say if you're new, don't take the power move and be a few minutes late. I don't think you have enough stance in your career to do that yet. But whatever it is, I would say watch these individuals, because what they are doing that makes them successful are traits that you can capitalize on and that you can also do to help you get promoted. And I'll give a good example here. I talked about how the women at my company are amazing women, amazing leaders, and I feel so inspired by them. And I'm blessed to work at a company where we do have a lot of women influence and leadership. And I will say one thing I've noticed is the women who are, these big leaders in this company that are admired, that have these amazing fancy titles, they are women that know how to vouch for themselves. They are women that they show up in a room and they are going to tell you what they've been working on and how it is benefiting the rest of the company. And they are just constantly talking about the good things that they are doing. And I really admire this, because when you step back and think about it, nobody is going to know about the amazing things you're doing in your job if you don't talk about it. I've spent so many lunches, doing a working lunch, because I thought, if I just put my head down and work, that's how you're going to get promoted. And I recently realized, no, because no one's going to know about the work I'm doing except for my boss and some people on my team if they're paying attention to our weekly meetings. But nobody else is going to know. So I've recently started taking time to, take my lunch and to meet with someone else in the company for a little coffee chat, a little lunch date, and to talk to them, see about what they're working on, see about what I'm working on, and just talking about, what you are currently doing, because nobody's going to know if you don't tell them. So if you are a girl who's putting her head down and working through lunch, this is your sign to stop doing that. Block off time for lunch and connect with somebody new in the company, because the more people that know you and the more people that know what you are working on, that is the more your name is going to get brought into these rooms that you don't have a place in yet to get you to the next level of your career. I've seen a lot of negativity directed towards me about this podcast being like, the biggest thing in this world is to not get promoted. And yeah, duh. Of course it's not. Your job is not your life. Duh. However, if this is something you care about, I don't know why so many people hate on women for wanting to be good in their careers, for wanting to move up in their careers, for wanting to be passionate about their career. Like, I feel as a woman, the moment you're like, I want to get promoted, I want to work so hard, like, I need to do X, Y, and Z to get to the next promotion, people are like, oh my God, like, your job is not your life. It's not your life, but at the same time, like, why are we hating on people to wanting to get to wherever it is that they want to go? It's not your life. It's not your career. It's none of your business. So I think people that are hating on others for wanting to have a good career, like, this isn't the podcast for you. This isn't the space for you. And that's totally fine. But like, I think no human should hate on any other human. Point blank, period. I really want to wrap this up by saying I regret not paying attention earlier in my career to corporate politics and to who was succeeding in the company and who was doing well and who people liked and who had a space in the room, because understanding those things would have given me a lot more opportunity in understanding what I wanted from my career, especially in terms of what company I wanted to work for and what boss did I want to work under. So I would urge you, even if you're early on in your career, just pay attention. Who is the leader of the room? Why do people like that person? What is that person doing? Understand how people are talking about each other, because knowing the culture of your company, that's 40 hours of your life every single week. That does impact you mentally, emotionally, especially financially. But if working at a company that has a good culture is important to you, which it is an important thing to a lot of Gen Z professionals, I would say it's really important to, perk up your ears, pay attention, and understand what the heck is going on. Because I was super naive, putting my head down, working, not paying attention, and I think that set me back a little bit. So thank you guys so much for joining the Corporate Tea podcast. As always, reach out, any questions, comments, concerns, what you want to see next on this podcast, and I hope you girl bosses have the best day ever.